Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Wood, and I'm the Vice President of Knowledge Transfer and Corporate Relations at ETH. So in the past decade, we've seen tremendous innovation in the place of internet architectures. And I think SCiON is really one of the most prominent projects in this area. I think the large crowd of organizations present here today and online are a testimony of its relevance for the future of the internet. We at ETH are tremendously proud that ETH was created here with Adrian Perich and is now being adopted by so many industries and diverse user groups. So the ETH Executive Board and the ETH Foundation have therefore decided to support the creation of a SCiON Foundation with the mission of nurturing a global ecosystem accessible to all. We want this foundation to be there for the diversity of stakeholders around SCiON. So whether you are a researcher at ETH or in another organization worldwide, an ISP, a user or a vendor or an integrator, we hope this foundation will have something to offer for you. And I'm very pleased to introduce Patrick Naef, who's the project manager for the development of the SCiON Foundation, to share with you a little bit more about the vision for the foundation and practically where we are in its setup and what you can expect in the coming months. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. A warm welcome to all people here and at home. It makes me feel enormously proud myself as being an alumnus from ETH myself as well, to be able to support ETH to build up that SCiON Foundation. It's still early days, we only just started, but the vision is, why are we here? You know, we want to enable more resilient, reliable, trustworthy communication over public internet. We heard in most of the presentations today how important a stable communication is. We need to secure data when they transit over networks, and we feel we need to give a little push to SCiON and help realizing the full potential of SCiON on a global scale. How are we going to do that? You know, I mean, most importantly, and again, we heard a lot about building communities today, we need to build that ecosystem of partners, of companies that support us, ISPs, hardware suppliers, and so on. But important as well, we need to go on a global scale. We heard a lot today what happens in Switzerland, which is great, you know, with SIX, with Nationalbank, and so on. But let's be honest, the biggest problem that SCiON addresses on the security of data traveling over the public internet is probably lesser an issue within Switzerland. So I think it's absolutely essential that we have that global reach and find partners in that ecosystem on a global scale. Then we need to create standards. We need to ensure interoperability with other systems to make sure that working with SCiON becomes as easy as possible. And of course, we want to promote further open source development. You may know SCiON is an open source standard. It's available, open source, and we want to further use the wisdom of the crowd, the communities out there to contribute to SCiON becoming an even stronger standard in the world. So how are we going to do that? We have basically identified 4 key areas that we work on. As I mentioned, the ecosystem, build up that ecosystem to accelerate the adoption. Then support the development through research, through new use cases. We heard from Adrian about the CO2 routing. We can use any kind of attributes to route traffic based on certain attributes. We can find lots of other development that we can put on top of what SCiON already constitutes today. Then, of course, I mentioned the standards. We need to set standards. We need to work with the standardization bodies on a global scale. And then we also need to certify. We will have to certify software, equipment, engineers, providers, according to the standards that are being set and defined together with the standardization bodies. And last but not least, you know, as part of creating that ecosystem of partners and companies, we hope that we will create as many competitors to Anapaya as possible. Sorry, Martin, to say that, but that's sort of the aim. I think we've done a good job with the SCiON Foundation if we see a huge adoption and also a healthy competition in the market. We defined a few principles because, you know, the danger is that you get bogged down with writing papers, documentation, and so on. We want to keep the SCiON Foundation as lean, nimble, frugal as possible. So it's run as a non-for-profit organization. We want to be lean, agile, rather a startup mentality than a large corporate. That's why we don't aspire to build a huge team. We want to stay as lean as possible and work together with partners. Nevertheless, governance will be essential because one of the biggest dangers, in my view, to SCiON is that it's being commercially hijacked, if I may use this word. You know? Some of the large players stepping in and wanting to control what SCiON is all about. We need to make sure that it stays like a democratized approach, that it's open to members. We say it's open source. It should be open to all members, and nobody should be able to dominate it for commercial reasons. And then, of course, the closeness to ETH. You know, SCiON was developed, invented here at ETH. These are the people who know best, who put in research efforts. We want to stay close to ETH and use the academic network to find further partners for further universities to help us further push SCiON forward into the future. If you feel, you as individuals or at companies, you would like to contribute for what we are trying to do here, please reach out to us. As you saw, what we said, you know, we're dependent on a network, on an ecosystem, so we would welcome any contribution in any shape or form to what we try to do with the SCiON Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Wood. Thank you, Patrick. This is great news from SCiON Foundation.